the nice thing about the gaming business is that failure is unambiguous. You either succeed or you fail, as opposed to other kinds of businesses, like there's service provisioning businesses where you can be in them for 10 years and still not know whether you're going to be successful or not.
Of course, your first game was Half-Life, which was very successful. What was the key to that?
I think part of the reason that the community responded to it is we approached the game like fans, right? We wanted to, it seemed like people were looking at what Ada had been creating with Doom and Quake and had picked out some of the least interesting details of those games to build upon. If a double-barreled shotgun was better, then if a double-barreled shotgun was good, a four-barreled shotgun was better. And what we had thought when we were playing the game was, there was so much atmosphere and so much environmental storytelling that was going on in these games, that they sort of opened the door to this new way, this new kind of entertainment, and that viewing it as just a shooting gallery, which is what all of the Doom copies and later Quake copies seem to be, extracting from the success of Doom and Quake, was missing the whole point of what we as fans had seen that had gotten us really excited, and so that's what the impulse was behind our games, is to take those pieces as fans that we had really loved about those games and try to amplify that and build on that as much as we could. And I think it turned out that we were on the right track, that, approaching it that way with sort of a fan's enthusiasm and sensibilities about what was compelling about and what the opportunities were to push even further, that ended up really working in our favor. And I think that trying to think like a fan is a super valuable thing to any game developer. Don't think about it in terms of constraints or budgets or what management somewhere is thinking, but approach the problem of, if I'm a fan and I hear about this, that gets me really fired up and excited. That's that's a valuable tool in approaching this business.
We love on the show reviewing games like And Yet It Moves. Does Valve look for those independent games? Do they have a policy about independent games, or is it just if it's a good game, it gets up there?
We really one of the things that the internet represents is an enormous broadening of distribution channels. You're seeing the same thing in television. You're seeing the same thing in news, where the opening of that to not being limited to a set amount of shelf space or a set marketing, a minimum bar on a marketing budget, opens the door to titles that would have difficulty finding and developing an audience otherwise. And to us, that's one of the most exciting things about Steam and this transition that Steam is part of, which allows all of these games that would ordinarily never see the light of day or certainly be able to connect and develop an audience, suddenly are able to do that. So it's something we value, and we're proud of the fact that that's occurring.
What's Valve's take on piracy?
Piracy to us, so we don't really worry about piracy. When we think, when you look at the top 10 issues on our list at any given point in time, piracy is almost never something that's on that list. And the reason that we think that we don't have issues with piracy is that there's misconceptions in the industry about what piracy is, right? There's assumption that what is piracy? Piracy is about people who want to steal stuff from you, right? That they don't want to pay any money and they want to get your content. But when you look at the fact that these people have, $2,000 PCs and they're spending $50 a month US more on their internet connections, clearly they're willing to spend money. So from our point of view, what we saw more and more is that piracy is the result of bad service on the part of game companies. So an example where that was really clear is Russia, right? Everybody in the United States knows that Russians are pirates, right? So there's no point in localizing your game. There's no point in making your product available in Russia, because all they'll do is pirate it. When the reality is that the pirates in Russia we're actually doing a much better job than the games companies themselves in localizing the product and making it available. So if I wanted the product and I didn't want to wait 6 months to get the product, and if I wanted it in Russian, I was going to have to go to a pirate simply because I couldn't get it any other way. And as soon as the product became available at the same time that it was available in Australia or the UK or the United States, and it was localized in Russia, all of a sudden our piracy problems in Russia disappeared. So it really is a question of viewing yourself as how can you provide the best possible service to your customers, and pricing really is one of the less important aspects of that whole equation. People are happy to pay money if they're getting what they perceive as a great product delivered on their terms. This is an example where a lot of the copy protection schemes go in exactly the wrong direction. They're actually negative service, right? Suddenly I don't know if this product, so as a customer, what I want is, I want my content on any device at any point in time with a lot of security, right? I don't want to have to worry when I buy a new PC that I won't be able to play a game that I've paid for. And then with copy protection, you're suddenly like, okay, if I reinstall my operating system, will I be able to play this game? If I buy a new PC, will I be able to? If I go over to my friend's house, will I be able to do it? So if you solve the real problem, which is, hey, I can go over to my friend's house and play the game. I can be in a cyber cafe on vacation, on holiday, and I can play my game. And I can buy new PCs and never have to worry about backing this up or restoring backups or anything like that. Oh, that's great. Then I'm much less likely to get a pirated version. Copy protection makes it less likely that that's going to be the case. And higher service platforms like Steam or other ones that are coming out make you more confident. So when you attack the problem that way, by improving the service component of the experience rather than through copy protection, which reduces the service component, copy protection is actually going to increase. I mean, there's anecdotal evidence that this is the case, that copy protection actually increases rather than decreases the piracy of games. So, like I say, by focusing on the customer and doing useful things for the customer, piracy really becomes sort of a non-issue for us.
Is there a dilemma with being both the developer and publisher of your games?
What we stick to is not thinking about, are we a developer or a publisher? We think of ourselves, we're building tools that are useful to ourselves and to other people. One of the areas that I personally am super interested in right now is how we can do financing from the community. So right now what typically happens is you have this budget, it needs to be huge, it has to be $10 million to $30 million. It has to all be available at the beginning of the project, and then there's a huge amount of risk associated with those dollars, so all the game decisions have to be incredibly conservative. And what I think would be much better is if the community could finance the games. In other words, hey, I really like this idea that you have, and I'll be an early investor in that. In venture capital, there's this concept that your best investors are your customers because they have secondary gain. If you're successful, they not only want a return on their money, but they're incredibly happy if you actually make a great game that they get to play. It'd be really great if we could evolve Steam in a way that made it possible so that a developer could say, if you want this game to start moving forward, here's the sort of seed round where people can sort of opt in and say, I'll pay $30 and then I own a piece of this game going forward. I think that it'd be really valuable to figure out the infrastructure and legal issues and financial issues that allow community-based funding rather than publisher or bank-based funding to occur.